appreciate you guys coming out here today. Before I get started, or before I open it up to you guys, just want to say a couple words. First of all, sad day for the NBA with Dikembe passing this morning. Obviously, was a global ambassador for our game. Obviously, a hell of a player when he played, but since he's finished playing, been a great ambassador for the NBA and the game of basketball around the world. So we will miss him, and thoughts and prayers go out to his family and obviously all the organizations that he's been a part of and made an incredible impact on this game and while he played in post career as well. So just want to say those things. Look, we've had a great last month here in Detroit with our players and our staff. We've had an incredible turnout. I've been very happy with and pleased with the amount of effort that our guys have put in on the court and doing some things off the court together as well. I think we have a really good group. They like each other. They've competed on the court. They've worked hard on the court. I think JB and his staff have done a tremendous job of getting these guys early buy-in and positivity in the facility and on the court as well. The energy's been high, and as I said, guys seem to really like each other, which I think goes. I think a lot of people miss the boat on that, and they think it's just a small thing. But we spend a lot of time together, not only as staff but players. They spend a bunch of time. So the more that these guys like each other, the more positive the environment is every day, and it's a long season. So the fact that these guys are getting along is a good thing. I think going into tomorrow, our team is healthy. Everybody will be available for practice tomorrow, and everyone except Asar. And I just want to kind of allude to him real quick before we get going, answer some questions that you might have. He's going through a medical process with the league and the Players Association right now. I think some of you guys are aware of. Obviously, we're supporting him as much as possible and just waiting for the resolution from the NBA and the PA. We're excited and look forward to having Asar back. But at this time, I just can't say any more to that, as we're just looking for a resolution to that process. So he's been working hard every day. This process has been going on for about a week. He's allowed to do conditioning. He's allowed to do strength training, a lot of non-contact drills, but that's pretty much what he can do right now until they make a decision. So that is where we are with our team, and I'll open it up to you guys.
Trajan, thanks for doing this. Just you have a moment to sit with the roster and other moves this offseason. What excites you most about the team going into the first day of camp?
Yeah, I think we have a young team. I think it's 9 or 10 guys that are 25 and under on the roster. So these guys have really worked hard since the summer league and coming in. So I think the blend of young guys and vets, and excited to see how that works out. I think you obviously have a vision in the summer when you put the roster together. How does that play out as camp comes and with the 5 exhibition games, and then obviously the week before, the week that we'll have in between the last exhibition and our first game to really iron out where we're at and put those rotations together. So excited to see the blend of basketball players, but also the blend of young men that we have.
I think you mentioned earlier that one of your concerns was how, like the psyche of the young guys who had endured, for lack of a better word, a lot of trauma last year. Mm-hmm. You've got basically you can split this team into 2 groups, all those young guys who were here last year, and then 4 veterans who come from winning organizations. I'm guessing some of the appeal of those vets were just that they come from winning organizations. But are you concerned about A, the psyche of those guys from last year and what happens when adversity strikes this year, and then B, those veterans that are transitioning from coming from championship organizations to rebuilding?
Yeah, we thought about that a lot when putting this roster together, and I think we've been intentional about the discussions. And I know JB has been intentional about the discussions that he's had with the whole team, with young guys and with the vets as well. But we brought those guys in for exactly that reason, to kind of to help bolster not only the playing on the floor, but also it's a long season, kind of help the ups and downs and keep these guys as even-keeled as possible. And if and when we go through a losing streak, not to think back of what happened last year, but to what's next? Move on to the next play, move on to the next practice, move on to the next game. Don't worry about the last play or the last game or what we did or didn't do. It's what's next is what's important. So I think bringing in those veterans are important, but I think also the positivity and the space that we're trying to build and the environment of what's next as well, and looking long term and not looking at every game, but looking at process and looking at these guys developing and becoming the best versions of themselves. So not being as granular as to one player, one game, but whether it's 5, 10 game segments or half a season, trying to determine how these guys are getting better and growing will be important for us.
With that being said, you're trying to establish a foundation. This first year is really important. What would you say is a realistic goal for you that you would like to see this season? Not maybe a winning total or anything,
Yeah.
but just what's a realistic goal that you want to do in this first season?
Yeah, I don't think the goal for us is wins and losses. Obviously, we we want to win as many games as possible, but I think it's putting a group together that establishes a Detroit Pistons identity. And at some time of the season, we want to be able to say, and JB has reiterated this to our guys, that this is Detroit Pistons basketball, and we walk into arena, the other team's going to know exactly what we're going to bring, and they better be ready for it because we're going to come in and compete every night. So I think that's going to be incredibly important for our group, is just the compete level that we have every day. And then like I said, we have a lot of young guys, so getting a routine, instilling a process with our team, and creating an environment again, and sustaining that environment that we're creating, a positivity of work and compete level. And that's not something that happens overnight. So for us, is doing those things across the course of the season. Of course, myself and my staff will be assessing our players the whole time, but obviously not only assessing what they're doing, but how can we help them get better. So for us, it's just continuing to build and hopefully be a better team in December that we are now, and a better team in March and April than we were in December.
And a quick follow-up to that. I saw you out at the Lions training camp, Stockton event. You've been integrated in Detroit right away, coming in. So have you leaned on any of those other general managers, like maybe Brad Holmes or any of those guys who've gone through what you've gone through as well, just kind of see what their process was, or how did they build the foundation, or what you plan on even doing that?
I definitely plan on doing it. I think initially it was just going and reaching out and establishing an initial relationship and contact with these guys. But I do understand they're in the course of their season. They're right in the heat of it. So I really enjoyed speaking with Brad that day. He took about 30, 45 minutes out of his time, which I think was incredibly kind of him. And so we'll stay in touch and continue the rapport. But I also know, where he is at in the season, and hope to stay in touch on both sides of the season. When he finishes up there, then come over here and then grow from each other. But he's done some amazing things here that hopefully I can learn from. Yeah.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, just seeing the success that the Lions are having, seeing what the Tigers are doing right now, how much motivation does that give you and possibly JB for what you guys are trying to develop and establish here, change the culture and the identity of this team?
I think we've said it a couple times that Detroit is a huge sports town. They want to get behind their teams. Teams that are winning and teams that are losing. So for us, it's establishing a foundation and putting together put a team on the floor that this city is proud of. And I think that's guys that are hard-nosed, gritty, and they compete every night. So that's going to be our focus. And hopefully the wins and losses take care of themselves in time. But we're going to hold our guys accountable to that right now, building an identity of Detroit Pistons basketball. And hopefully we can get to the success that these other teams are having.
And there is optimism, with the hiring as well as the offseason here. But what's the message to the fans that have seen prior attempts as to why this one will be different?
I think we're going to try to be systematic and like I said, intentional about the young men that we bring in, how we go about developing them, how we go about putting together a roster. And I think it's just developing an identity and just this is what we do every day. And if we're not going to do that, then we're going to find people that are, and just a high compete level every day in practice and in games. So what the fans come to expect is what they're going to see every game, which is a team that represents the city of Detroit, the Pistons organization, and all the fans to the highest level. And they're accountable to one another of what they expect every game coming in. And I think that's, if I had to say one thing to fans to expect, is I think JB is really high on that as well, and he's going to reiterate that later, is that's the biggest expectation for our guys individually and as a team.
Along those same lines, how much would you guys rely on the veterans that you guys brought in order to continue giving out the message of, trying to establish that identity and everything else in between?
Yeah, JB has communicated to them. I've communicated to them as well as the leadership piece for those guys is going to be huge for us as a team and also for creating these habits with the young guys that we have. A lot of our guys here, returners, haven't seen winning at a high level. They haven't seen playing for something past the All-Star break, which is obviously when the whole league ramps up. So that's a different level of basketball, let alone when you get into the playoffs. So I think those are some of the things that our vets can share with them. But to get there, you have to have certain processes and habits that go along with that. It doesn't just happen. So we're all hoping that they can be leaders in the locker room, be leaders in the court, be leaders as we travel, and leaders in the fourth quarter of games that can help show these guys the way it's done.
What is it about Tobias Harris that made him a big priority for the team this summer?
I think most important is he wanted to be here, right? So once he said he wanted to be here, that was huge for us. But again, he's a guy that's been impeccable in terms of his habits, in terms of his professionalism. He's played in the playoffs on multiple teams. He does it the right way all the time. He's in the community. He's done an incredible job about building a brand. And when I say that, you know who Tobias Harris is in and out, between the lines and off the court in his community. So you know what to expect from Tobias every day, whether we're traveling on the road, whether we're on the court. And he came here because he wants to be a leader as well. I think it's going to be one of the first times when he'll have the opportunity to truly be one of the leaders. I think he and Cade will be the leaders of this team, and that's what he wants to do. And he's stepping in those shoes, and he has we have big expectations from him from that standpoint.
With Cade having his long-term security now, what do you look for from him? What does success look like for Cade this year?
Good question. I'd love to hear what he says later, too, when you ask him that question. But I think it's growing into a leader. He wants to lead. I think that was a big thing for him. And look, we're fortunate that he wants to be here as well. A young man of his caliber, both playing and as a young man, high character, he embodies what we want to be as a franchise. And so I think the re-signing of him, we're all very, very excited about. But kind of, again, seeing him progress every day in terms of his leadership, but also his compete level, both sides of the floor, and then playing winning basketball and figuring out what that means night in and night out, because hopefully we can stay in games. So I think that's the only way that you grow and you figure out how to win games is you stay in them. You'll lose some tough ones, but then over time you figure out how to win them, and then you just build on that. So he's going to be a leader for us on and off the floor. So that's what I look at as a year of success for him, because he's a hell of a basketball player. So that I wouldn't say that comes easy, but he's so talented. He's going to figure it out on the court. It's what are the habits, what is his leadership style, and how can that get better as the year goes on.
Trench and Tom Gorse talked about leaning on you as like the leader of building this franchise and putting things together. What has this process been like for you stepping into this role in your first season?
It's been a lot of fun. It was obviously very hectic and stressful initially, as I've alluded to a good amount in the first 45, 60 days. But I've been blessed to bring some really good people with me, staff-wise, and obviously JB and his staff have been incredible since they've entered. And I think it helps a lot when you have a group of young men like we have that want to be here and are excited about this season. But just piggyback on what you're saying, Tom has been incredible in terms of his support and with the resources. Like without him and me going to get the people that we've got, we wouldn't be in the position that I think we are. We got a long ways to go, but I think we've really worked hard and put ourselves in a pretty good position in terms of creating and establishing an environment to allow these guys to be the best versions of themselves. So again, we'll see once game 1, game 10, game 20 comes. That's the test of the environment that you're trying to build, but I think we're in a good place right now.
This roster lacks, this roster lacks a traditional veteran point guard. What does that mean for Jaden Ivey, and just what do you hope for him next season as he steps into year 3?
He's been an incredibly bright spot for us, and over the past month, just his dedication and willingness to come in and work. And I mean pre-practice, in between the lines, post-practice in the weight room, recovery, whatever he needs, he's been all over it. He's probably been our guy that's been, whether you say the most diligent, the most disciplined, he's been working his butt off. He's been really excited. I think he's also been the one that we've had to pull back a little bit in terms of overworking. But he's somebody that I'm really intrigued to see how JB's going to use him. because I think he can be used in a lot of different capacities, running a unit, playing side by side with Cade, playing on, playing off the ball, has the ability to be an elite defender. Obviously, everybody knows to be an elite defender, you got to want to do it yourself. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But he does have the ability to impact both sides of the ball at a high level, and we're excited to see that from day one.
Thanks, Trajan.
All right.
JB will be in a second.
What's up, man?
Davey, we've heard a lot of talk on leadership already today. Right? What are the characteristics in players you see for leaders on a team that has historically you guys always played?
It's important that people want to be around you and want to follow you. I think that's first and foremost. So how you carry yourself, how you treat your teammates, how you show respect to everybody that's around you, like all those things matter first and foremost. And then you have to be genuinely willing to sacrifice of yourself for the greater good. And I think if you're able to do those two things, it gives you the ability to lead, because those are typically traits that people want to follow.
JB, coming into obviously a busy summer of transactions, what excites you about this roster the most going into camp and preseason next week?
The mix of talent and type, and then being around these guys and being able to experience them, their personalities, the energy that they've brought every single day, has been fun. Veteran guys have been willing to do more, be around more. You talk about leadership, but spending time with young guys, spending time with the coaching staff, so that they can help. So that speaks about what they're about, what their intentions are. And then there's, that blend of young talent, positionally as well. We don't have like an overload at one spot. I think, you look at the roster from the point guard position to the bigs, you have a lot of guys who have a different skill set, and they're going to allow us to be very versatile on both ends of the floor. I think he's going to take steps. We allow guys to play with a freedom as long as they're playing to their strengths and playing, with a team mindset and a selfless mindset. So with that freedom, a lot of times gives guys confidence. And what we've seen is the difference a lot of times between average, good, and great is belief. So we want to give him the ultimate belief, right? As a coaching staff, it's our job to make him feel 7 feet tall and bulletproof when he's out there on the floor. But, where our job is, and not only with Cade, but it's with the rest of the group, is, the next step is how do we make plays that impact winning? And how does our game impact winning? Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. And that's something that doesn't typically happen overnight. But from one season to the next, from the beginning of the year to the end of the season, you can see the guys that are starting to figure out, okay, these are the plays that impact winning. These are the times. It may not be a play in the fourth quarter. Maybe a play in the first quarter that, you take a charge, energizes your teammates, like those types of things, throughout a basketball game that impact winning. And that's what our focus is. Well, they wanted to be here. I think that's important to mention, is that those guys wanted to be here, wanted to be a part of the process, and they understand, exactly what they're getting into. It wasn't something that they were blindsided by, and because of that, their mindset is, and just the conversations is like they just want to give back. Obviously, they see opportunity, here, opportunity to get on the floor, but opportunity to be a mentor. Opportunity to be a great veteran. I think that's one of the things that's kind of changed over the past years. When young guys came in, they would always have a vet that would kind of take them under their wing and show them, how to survive in the NBA, how to come up with a routine, what professionalism looks like. And these guys have embraced that, and that's what they want to do here. Their skill set helps the young guys, providing spacing and those types of things. So it helps our young guys on the floor, but they're also willing to accept those roles of a mentor off the floor.
Is this preseason different for you than past ones?
I guess it takes you back to the first year of, all the jobs that I've had in the past. But this is about, building a foundation for us. And that's what the focus of this preseason will be is, we're at the bottom of what we do, how we implement our system on offense, on defense. So we're going to start there, right? And we're not going to skip any steps. So that's the mindset that our coaching staff has is this preseason is the foundation of what we're going to do here today and moving on into the future. And we have to make sure that foundation is strong so that we can sustain the success when we get there. I think, Isaiah obviously being around a little bit longer, but JD is, what exactly is our NBA skill? And how do we do that on a night in, night out basis and find that consistency? What we've noticed in just a small amount of time and watching film with him on him is, JD's ability to handle the ball and make plays. And is that something that we can unlock with him, to kind of open up his game a little bit and get him involved earlier in the clock so everything isn't such a grind. And then, Stu obviously has been playing some 4 here, but as a 5, how do you put pressure on the rim? One of the things he's elite at is offensive rebound. And so how do we put him in position where he can carry out his elite NBA skill? Again, we keep saying the same thing is what this is about is contributing to winning. And we've got to find the skill set of each individual guy that helps him contribute to winning. And that way the team takes a jump because everybody's focus and skill sets are there.
Heading into the season, what do you consider the team's greatest strength? Conversely, what do you think is the biggest weakness?
I'd like to hold on that and get a little bit of time to be around the group as a whole. Obviously, you watch a ton of film, and we've studied the guys individually. But it's something where I prefer to just be with the group in a team setting, in a practice setting, before we jump out, to any of those things. Again, I'm excited about this group, the time that we've spent together. Again, their energy has been amazing. Their willingness to do whatever it is that we've asked them to do, to be around each other, the commitment to wanting to take steps and grow. But I think this team, it does present some versatility when you look at it and the size that you'll be able to play with at different positions. You look at a lineup where you can play Cade at your point guard and then surround him with 6'7", 6'7", on up, is exciting to a coaching staff with switching lineups and all those things. So the versatility, I think, is there. But, again, I want to make sure I get my hands on them before I come out with that. It's the foundation matters. What we do and what we say in the very beginning of this matters. How we act every single day, how we carry ourselves matters. Holding people to a standard matters. And I think what you see a lot of times in situations like this is, young guys just get to play, right? And they get to play and make mistakes, and they know that they're going to keep playing, so, they don't learn as quickly as they should. We're going to hold guys accountable. There's a standard that Detroit Pistons basketball will look like, and everybody will be expected to play to that standard. And it's pretty easy, right? We tell our guys there's 2 things you can control every night, how hard you can compete and how selfless you play the game. And if guys are competing their tails off and playing selfless basketball, we'll live with some mistakes, right? But we know those guys will eventually learn and impact winning because they're doing those 2 things night in, night out. To be honest with you, the most important thing was the conversations that I had with Trajan. There was a time where, I had my mind made up that, my family and I were going to move to Southern California. We were going to take some time off, do a little TV, relax a little bit. But I had conversations with Trajan that just, re-energized me to want to be a part of this situation. I trust his leadership. I trust his intelligence. The fact that, through his life, like he's been through things, so he doesn't make, reactionary decisions, right? He doesn't worry about what outside people think. He focuses on what's important right now and what basketball reality is. And so there's a trust there that I have with him and a belief in him that, he's going to be willing to stick through the hard times to get the job done. And, that excited me. Obviously, the guys that were on this team, excited me. You see the young guys, whether it's Cade, J.I., J.D., on and on. The draft was already done, so Ron was already here. Bobby was here. And then, again, the veterans that were added to the group. It just felt like it was the right place and, like, the right type of guys for me also. Like, hard-nosed, tough-minded, gritty guys. Like, those are the type of guys that I like to go to war with. Yeah, he has a lot on his plate because we're asking him to do, a lot because we believe in his abilities. Not only will he be focusing on the shooting, but he's also going to be, a major part of our staff, scouting games and all those things. But shooting is something in the NBA that, sometimes we feel like only the guys that need help get help. But we're asking Fred to put together a program where he's working with everybody. So, he's got to, 1 through 15, find a way to spend time with all those guys. And a lot of times it's not a complete correction. It's, okay, this is what you do when you make shots, so let's just do more of that. And that's what he'll be focusing on, is studying what guys do when they make shots and then working with them to get to that place more than not. Yeah, we've talked, and that's something that you'll see is commonplace. Like, we spend a ton of time with the guys, not just on the court, but having conversations with them so that things don't get too big, right? If we go 3 weeks without talking to a guy, so much has happened that it's kind of hard to digest all of it at once. So we try our best, to have conversations with guys all the time. And the conversation with J.I. is, we're here to help him as best we possibly can. We believe that there is a lot there and that he has a high ceiling. And it's our job to figure out how we put him in positions to be successful. What we believe in is putting guys in positions of strength. And I know a lot of times as guys go through development, they spend so much time working on their weaknesses. And if they're not having success at their weaknesses, it impacts their confidence, which then ultimately impacts the things that they do well. So our focus is, let's put guys in positions of strength, give them that confidence, give them that belief. And then, on the side, when we're doing our pre-practice work, our post-practice work, when guys come back at night, like, that's where we really, really focus in on things that they need to improve on, so that when they get to it in the game, they have belief and confidence in it. Because, to me, that's the difference, is the belief in the ability when you're out there on the floor and the mindset of being confident that lets these guys be, the players that we believe they're capable of. You try to learn no matter where you are, right? And you pick up things. You work with so many different players and understand, the mindset of each player is different. What pushes them, what makes them want to be great. How do you help them, in adverse moments? So figuring out relationships with guys is huge. Again, we're talking about spending that time, but we've got to figure out, how to push each guy's button. And you do that by building those relationships, with star-level players, role players. Doesn't matter. You treat them all the same.
What did you learn in Cleveland about suboptimal spacing that could help you in Detroit, and how to maximize that?
I mean, it's funny now because spacing has become simply about the 3-point shot. But, there were great offensive teams that played with two big guys on the floor, on block and block. You know what I mean? And people were still able to get to the basket. You go all the way back to Jerry Sloan's Utah teams, and, they had sometimes 8 guys in the painted area, but they still found a way to score a ton of layups. So, spacing is relative to what you're trying to get out of it. Working with two big guys, understanding, how they work together. One guy rolling, another guy working short, creates space there. There's also vertical spacing for guys who can catch lobs and those types of things. And then there's also ways where you can put smaller guys in positions like in the dunk spot, right? Like you think about the Celtics a long time ago would put Rondo in the dunk spot. Now you've got a small guy down there versus a big who's rolling, which creates more space also. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can create the space beyond just using a 3-point line. All right, thank you, guys.
Healthy one for you. How much did that shape, I guess, your approach coming in, and what did you prioritize knowing that you had momentum coming from last season with the health as well?
Yeah, felt good this off season starting it out. Being able to, like you said, not have to deal with rehab and all that. So still felt good, still felt in rhythm from the season. So yeah, just building on all that was the main priority. Adding on to it and being sharper for this year.
Beyond the
Well, I'm confident in the work that we put in as a group, the work that I put in individually, and just having a fresh start. That brings a lot of confidence as well. The fact that we get to start fresh and kind of reset the narrative that's around us, reset what's going on in the building, and just get a new positive vibe going and get some wins going.
when you take us back to your decision to sign, how much did you talk to other people? How much did you really think about that? Obviously, the money was good, but to want to stay here and make this work.
Well, I already wanted to stay here, so it was just about us, I guess, agreeing to the same terms, and but it was all. I think it was already a done deal in my head as far as where I wanted to be. I knew I wanted to be here. It was just, going through all of the business things that had to be done, and I was just waiting to be able to sign my name.
How did you kind of come to terms with this, what happened last year? How do you kind of bury that so it's a long season, adversity is going to strike. How do you kind of prepare yourself for when adversity strikes here this year? We're not going to let it snowball, that type of thing.
Yeah, definitely by using the different things that we had to do and go through last year as a reference point. And this year, I mean, just staying committed to the work. Obviously, like you said, there's going to be adversity for us. So just sticking together and staying true to the process and to the grind of the season. And I kind of take expectations out of it. I had a lot of expectations last year coming back, but this year, I try to just move freely and take it day by day and not really have expectations, but just try to give, my best every day.
How do you think you've grown as a leader?
I mean, just by having more and more experience every year. I feel like I've grown in that regard. Guys, we have rookies that Ron's from my area. I've known Ron for a long time. So, me just having that experience of, being in the NBA for a couple of years, playing games, being able to share that type of stuff with them. But I think experience is the biggest way I've grown. Yeah.
How do you look at that, man? Monday Night Football for the Lions, the Tigers,
Yeah.
particularly those two teams are, trying to get the Pistons back relevant again, man. How much is the challenge that for you when you take that home?
Yeah, it's a challenge that, we definitely want to take on for sure. I was there at the game, what was that, Friday, when Tigers clinched. And so watching that, I'm in the building watching how the stadium was reacting to that, gave me chills. So, that's what we want to do for for the Pistons fans, for the city on the basketball side is, we want to bring that same excitement, that same joy to, the Pistons. So it's a challenge that we're all excited to take on, and I'll be the head of that snake.
And with that said, what can we expect from Cade Cunningham in 2024-25?
Growth.
Okay, last 3 seasons, different head coaching changes. What has it been like for you? What have you learned about yourself having to go through the constant changes and having to just learn different systems and things over and over?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely it's a learning curve. It's challenging. Having not had consecutive summers of consistent playbooks or consistent whatever, but at the end of the day, I mean a lot of the stuff is the same. It's just different terminology, different names for different things. So me just watching film and watching games and just figuring out how I want to play the game and then applying what Coach Bickerstaff has put in place, and to do that, to have some consistency with it, I think that's the main thing. Yeah, I think that's not putting guys in boxes, allowing everybody to be themselves. But with that takes a lot of organization to allow guys to play with freedom and without it looking crazy. So I think that's something that Coach Bickerstaff has been really good about, is allowing us to be ourselves, but it's also been very organized, and he kind of lets people know what is expected of them, and that's only going to come. Training camp starts tomorrow, but yeah, I think it's good for young players. We got a young team, for us to be able to play free and to play our game, but also have roles and guidelines with it.
Look at some of the guys he's coached most recently, Donovan Mitchell, him, kind of emerged into that all NBA type player. I guess for you, how much did that give you, confidence with him going as well, knowing the guys you dealt with? Do you have any personal goals like that, maybe All-Star, all NBA, going forward in this stage of your career?
Yeah, all of those things are my goals for sure. But like you said, seeing the way that he's coached, and I played against those teams with him coaching Donovan Mitchell and Garland and them, and just the way that they were able to play with space, but the flow of the game, the way that they called games and stuff, I think all of that was impressive at the time, and now having him as my head coach, I'm excited for it.
After the Stock X event, we saw you come up behind Trajan Langdon and Patricia around him, kind of joke him a little bit during it. Just when you decided to resign with the team and getting to know him, how has that relationship developed and evolved so far?
I think it's been really good. I had a lot of fun getting to know him and talk with him, talk basketball with him at whenever he first got here. But since he's been around, me and him have definitely grown our relationship. We talked a lot, and I think he's been doing a great job. And I want to be able to put the pieces together on the floor for him.
What's the identity you want this team to have?
Gritty, and play together and play a fun style of basketball. I want us to have fun this year.
Jay, how excited are you about the additions of Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, DeMar Jr.? I know last year your efficiency was a little capped out because they were able to pack a paint on you. There wasn't a lot of shooting threats. How do you think that changes this year?
Well, they can definitely shoot it, but I like the way that they approach the game. I like the chip that they play with. I think that was something that individually, all of them in their different environments, I liked that about all of them, playing against them. So whenever I heard they were coming with us, I thought it was a perfect fit for the locker room. And just, we need guys like that coming off of the year we had last year. Like, we need guys that are going to play with some grit, play with a chip on their shoulder, and also have veteran experience that we can have on the floor with us. So I think all of those guys fit that perfectly, and I'm excited.
You're working with a new coaching staff this year, but Jared Jack is actually going to be returning. I know you did a lot of your pregame routines with him last season. Talk about what it means to have him back again this year.
Yeah, it means a lot. Zay-Jack's my guy. Somebody that really helped me a lot last season, from a point guard perspective, but also just, a development perspective, or development thing, throughout the year. I think me and him really got a good synergy going, and so to have him back this year, I think is great.
Coming off of last season, do you notice a different level of intensity and focus from the group going into training camp? And have you guys talked about that fire of turning things around and wanting things to be different?
Yeah, it's definitely a high intensity. For the returners, I mean, obviously we know what that's from. Last year was a lot on all of us, and we don't want to relive that. So you know, that's the main thing. And then, like I said about our vets, I think they all carry that same chip and they want to prove something as well. So adding all of that together, I think we have a group that is ready to turn things around and ready to, you know, start getting the ball rolling.
Individually, what stands out about the growth you showed in your game last season, and with that, how did that shape your approach this offseason as far as maybe what skills or areas that you honed in on?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, you know, the things that I struggled with last year, I'm working on percentages-wise, making sure that, you know, I shoot the ball better and things, sharper with my decision-making, all that stuff. So, you know, I try to play a pretty versatile game. So sometimes when I'm working out, I mean, and answering questions like this, it can sound like I'm working on everything, but I more so try to segment things off and give 2 strong weeks to work on something and develop. And then maybe take the next skill set or next skill or whatever I want to work on. So I kind of take that approach a lot of times with it. But a lot of work was done, and I feel good about the summer.
In one of the all-time great two-way players, they have really high motors. It takes a lot to be a primary decision maker on offense and then a really good defender. Have you been working on your conditioning this offseason to make sure that you can get through games and make big plays on both ends of the court?
Yeah, for sure. In the past, with the injuries and stuff I had, it was hard for me to be able to get like a good amount of load running, just because it would flare up, you know, my bone stuff or whatever. And so this summer I didn't have that, so it was good to be able to work and be able to actually push myself past way more than what I was able to do in the last, since high school. So this has been a big summer for me, and now, you know, with the team all being together, we getting our own team conditioning in. So, you know, we have a young team. Being able to play fast is important for us. So we all need to be ready for that, and I'm ready for it for sure.
Just as a leader of the team, you know, what's the message to the fans who are, you know, ready to see this team turn it around?
Yeah, come out and watch us. You know, we're excited about this season. We hope that y'all are excited to come watch us. I mean, more than anything, you know, I've been working really hard. This whole group is working really hard, and so we're ready to make y'all proud and turn this thing around.
You mentioned working on your finishing around the rim in the past. What did you work on this past offseason to kind of turn some of those looks maybe into free throw attempts, easier looks around the rim, maybe work on the floater? What
Yeah.
did you work on this past offseason to kind of improve those numbers around the rim for you?
Yeah, the floater for sure. I worked a lot on my floater, and I think that's going to help me out a lot as far as not always having to jump into bigger guys or shoot as many contested layups. And then, of course, touching up as far as layups and all that, the glass and having all that be touched up. But the floater was a big one for me. Appreciate y'all.